Hello, my lovelies. Well, just want to report on the Wilfred Wong case and his co-conspirators in the kidnapping of Child A. Now, reporting restrictions have just been lifted on the proceedings because it involved a minor, and it had a D notice on it. So it's been released today in the press that people can report on the case, a very disturbing case where Wilfred Wong, and I say his co-conspirators, attempted to abduct a child and take him abroad. Now, the headline is Kidnap Gang Abducted Child at Knifepoint from Screaming Anglesey Foster Mum's Car. The gang, led by knife man Wilfred Wong, conducted a chilling plot to take the victim abroad, but were thwarted by cops on the M1 in Northampton, 200 miles from North Wales. And it goes over over what happened. The child's mother was involved, and basically, a car pulled up. The foster mother was in her car, and she had child A, who was 8 years old, and her own daughter in the car. This car pulled up, a door opened, tried to grab her son. The foster mother got into a struggle with her, and then from behind her appeared Wilfred Wong, dressed in black with a knife, held her to her face and threatened her. Well, she was terrified about her daughter's life and her life, and she had to make a decision. So she let the young boy go. Of course, the young boy was absolutely hysterical, terrified, screaming for his foster mother. Remember, he hasn't had a life with his own mother for 5 years, so since the age of either over 2 or 3, his mother has been his foster carer. That's the way he'll see it. So can you imagine being an 8-year-old child and you're in a car and that happens? You'd be petrified. After that, child would be traumatized. It will. Anyway, thankfully, I'm just seeing if I can get the little parts here. Two men who were working nearby saw this all happening, and one of them thankfully got the registration number of the car, and the police were able to locate them. Now, I think it was something like 4 hours that child was put through this ordeal, but the plan was to take him to southern England and then take him abroad. Now, anyone who's followed me, I used to have videos up, but I've hidden them all at the moment because I didn't want them up there, about Wilfred Wong and me warning people about him for a long time. And one person who was warning was Sean Atwood, who was the podcaster, True Crime podcaster, who was fuming with, and still am really disappointed with him today that he never listened to warnings. I warned him and warned him, keep away from John Wedger, keep away from Wilfred Wong, keep away from Janessa Archer. They're very dangerous, dangerous people. And he didn't listen, which Sean doesn't do. See, but hopefully he's an interest now, and he'll know to keep his distance from people like this. Now, what these Wilfred Wong fella was all about was, he has been doing the rounds for over 30 years, calling himself an expert on satanic ritual abuse, and he sees basically Satanists everywhere. Now, as I said to people, and some people listened, some people didn't, I said, look, he's suspicious because I'm used to, in my job that I had with the police, taking statements, interviewing people day in, day out, 2, 3, 4 times a day. I'd be doing this continually, taking statements, interviewing them. And you learn to quickly guess when someone is lying, or someone is avoiding questions, or someone is just trying to get one over you. You can work it out. You learn as you're doing it very quickly. Now, Wilfred Wong, one thing that he used to do that always struck me was he was never stuck for an answer. And I tried to tell Sean that with this, said he is never stuck for an answer. I said he's making it up as he goes along. You could ask anything. You could say to Wilfred Wong, Wilfred, do Satanists use space hoppers in the rituals? And I swear down, he'd turn around and go, oh, yes, yes, the Satanists, yes, I've met Satanists and they've told me that, if they're going to sacrifice a yellow-haired child on the fourth day of a new moon, they bounce around the, the altar on space hoppers. He always had an answer. Now, when someone always has an answer, people, the chances are they're making it up. They're making it up as they go along. And he was that type of character, but he was getting, sadly, because of Sean Atwood, he was getting his name known and people were getting to hear about him. And that was through John Wedger as well, the ex-Metropolitan Police officer, who, once this happened to Wong, he went whoof down and hid away, didn't he? Kept his head right down when this happened. But the likelihood is John Wedger knew what was afoot. He was a very, very good friend of Wilfred Wong's. So, did he know? He was going around saying, he was making out that, oh, he didn't know that he had, well, wake it up yourself, wake it up yourself. Anyway, what this goes to show is just how dangerous some people are. And they are disturbed. Look, if you think a child is in danger of abuse, any kind of abuse, satanic ritual abuse, mental abuse, any abuse, what you do is you have to go through the proper channels. You can't just kidnap them off the streets. Look, when you're talking about Wong and John Wedger, you're talking about people who really believe they're sent here by God to do this. Now, again, I'll point out, they claim that these satanic temples are everywhere, and they know they are. But they always slip up and reveal that they don't know where they are. And they've got no evidence they exist. Janessa Archer, in one of her latest, for people who don't know, Janessa Archer is, again, someone that Sean Atwood gave a platform to. I hope he regrets that now. I hope he regrets now, because he's getting into, and I've told him he's getting into an absolutely mile of crap if he keeps on associating with her. And the others, actually. Anyway, she came out with this totally graphic story about what happened to her at the hands of satanic abusers. Oh, she had red hot pokers shoved up her neck, but yet she's got a wonderful smile on her face. Has gone on to have children and doesn't look one bit physically affected by anything that happened to her. And she knows where dead children are buried. All these torture and sacrifice victims are buried. Now, she's willing to give up her life, she says, to save children from these Satanists. Yet she won't go with spades and dig up where these children are bodies are to prove to the police, here we are, here they are. And she claims she went to the police. According to the police, well, according to Barbara O'Hare, who pointed out that Janessa Archer had stolen parts of her book and put it into her own narrative, she never went to the police. Neither did John Wedger, an ex-Met police officer. Apparently Jeannette and him know where they are, but they won't do that. But she'll give up her life. Anyway, this is the problem you have. They don't know, because she said, Janessa Archer turned around and said that they were going to find these satanic ritual places where it was going on, these temples or whatever, or rings. Well, wait a minute. I thought she said she knew where they were. Now it's like we're going to find them. You don't go find something where you know it is. Do you? You don't go finding the Albert Hall when you know where the Albert Hall is. Another thing that John Wedger used to say in Wilfred Wong, when you're over the targets, they start kicking off. In other words, when you're over these satanic ritual temples. In other words, they don't know where they are. They're still looking for them. Maybe the simple truth is they don't exist, and that's why they can't find them. But I was watching another YouTuber talking about this, Angela Power Disney, and she mentioned that she was having doubts about Wilfred Wong. A few people are having doubts about him, whether he's genuine or whether he was a double agent just to stir up trouble. I think he was. I don't think he's a double agent, or he wouldn't be in the position he is at the moment. He's just someone that's extremely unbalanced, delusional, and disturbed. But that made me think of something else when she said that, Angela said that. And this was this. Janessa Archer actually said in her one of her videos, she was advising people, well, she said it a few times actually, not to send the children to school in September. Keep the children out of the schools. Don't send your children to school. What will happen if those people don't send the children to school? What will the authorities do? They'll put the children into care. Isn't that the very place where they reckon these Satanists can infiltrate to get hold of victims? Why would Jeannette Archer, the one campaign against SRA, why would she be advising people to do that when she knows the result will those children will be put right into care? I'm not saying that that's what she's planning, but that's the result of what she's suggesting. Odd, isn't it? Very, very odd. These are very strange people. Anyway, my lovelies, I won't keep this going on too long. But what I'd say to you is, you can't have this going on. There's very unbalanced people in this world, very unbalanced too. Don't go looking for evidence. They convince themselves of a narrative and they just run with it. Look, Samantha Baldwin did the same thing. Allegations of abuse, kidnapped her own children, drugged one of her sons, and then you wonder why she wasn't given custody in the first place. You've got to work it out for yourself, right? These are people that they don't have custody of their children because they're dangerous people. And God knows, let's hope that child recovers from this. But Janessa Archer's talking about, saving children. In other words, what she's talking about is kidnapping them. And this is the danger that we're in with these people. And that's say they don't need to see evidence. They just get an idea in the head, run with it. And well, say every good scientist, and I heard this years ago, every good scientist is continually trying to disprove their own theory. Because by trying to disprove it and not being able to disprove it, they prove it's factual. But what happens with these religious fanatics, not just religious fanatics, it can be anything. It can be flat earthers, it can be anything. It can be political parties, Conservative Labour. When someone has a passion in them, they won't look for what argues against what they're saying. They'll only look for what backs them up and supports what they're saying. No, always look, and this is a handy tip, always look for what disagrees with what you're saying. Then you'll get to the truth. Look for what disagrees. But they don't do that. And even though they're not finding any evidence of these satanic temples and this wholesale murder of children and torture, they're still believing in it. That's because they need to believe in it. They want to believe in it. They don't notice the flaws in Jeannette Archer's accounts, how it keeps on changing. That's because they're not interested. They want to believe it. They need to believe it. Very dangerous people. Anyway, I'll leave it there, my lovelies. Until next time, bye bye for now.